Voldemort had to be the one to kill Harry. But why? Well, it gets a little complicated, so let's start from the beginning. We get our first clues to the setup of this ultimate showdown in the first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Harry goes through the trials, through the different chambers with his best friends, and then faces Quirrell alone. And later, in the hospital wing, he is riddled with questions, which he then asks Dumbledore, and Dumbledore doesn't really answer his questions, but he does leave some very good clues toward what is to come.
Alas, the first thing you ask me, I cannot tell you. Not today. Not now. You will know one day. Put it from your mind for now, Harry. When you are older, I know you hate to hear this, when you are ready, you will know.
Already we see that Dumbledore knows to a degree the connection between Lord Voldemort and Harry. But as we see later in the King's Cross chapter in Book 7, that Dumbledore couldn't bring himself to disclose any of this to Harry. And we also know that at this point, Dumbledore is still seeking real solid proof of Lord Voldemort making Horcruxes, which he will not get until Book 2, Chamber of Secrets. However, Dumbledore goes on to elaborate when Harry asks why Quirrell couldn't touch him. And this statement gives us our first real clue as to the tie between Lord Voldemort and Harry. And his connection will only strengthen and grow over time. This shows why Lord Voldemort must be the one to kill Harry.
Your mother died to save you. If there is one thing Voldemort cannot understand, it is love. He didn't realize that love as powerful as your mother's for you leaves its own mark. Not a scar, no visible sign. To have been loved so deeply, even though the person we loved is gone, will give us some protection forever. It is in your very skin. Quirrell, full of hatred, greed, and ambition, sharing his soul with Voldemort, could not touch you for this reason. It was agony to touch a person marked by someone so good.
This quote itself reveals a lot, and is a great setup for the hubris of Lord Voldemort's actions in Book 4, Goblet of Fire. In this moment, Dumbledore reveals that Harry's mother left him with some protection created by her love for her son. This is the first instance in which we understand that Lily's sacrifice created the love magic protection that keeps Harry safe. There is nothing stronger than a mother's love for her child. And Dumbledore explains here that it is a strong magical protection that guards Harry. It does not, however, completely explain why Lord Voldemort must be the one to kill Harry, but it is a great clue and building block as to why. By the time we get to Goblet of Fire, we have experienced one of Lord Voldemort's Horcruxes in action, the diary in Book 2. When Dumbledore received the diary, he has full confirmation of his theory that Lord Voldemort has made Horcruxes. But Goblet of Fire really is the tipping point in Harry's favor. Let us explain. First and foremost, the potion. In order to restore Lord Voldemort to a proper body, he needs the bone of his father, the flesh of his servant, Wormtail in this case, and the blood of his enemy, Harry. In Chapter 1, The Riddle House, Voldemort states that it has to be Harry, and no one else.
I have my own reasons for using the boy, as I have already explained to you, and I will use no other.
In Chapter 33, The Death Eaters, Voldemort goes on one of his greatest monologues in the entire series. After 13 years, Voldemort has a lot to say to his Death Eaters, including revealing to the reader why he used Harry's blood in the regenerative process of returning to his body.
You all know on the night I lost my powers and my body, I tried to kill him. His mother died in the attempt to save him, and unwittingly provided him with a protection I admit I had not foreseen. I could not touch the boy. Voldemort raised one of his long white fingers and put it very close to Harry's cheek. His mother left upon him the traces of her sacrifice. This is old magic. I should have remembered it. I was foolish to overlook it. But no matter. I can touch him now.
Voldemort goes on to explain that his killing curse rebounded off of Harry and hit him, but that all of his hard work paid off and he didn't die. Here he is talking about his Horcruxes saving him from death. Voldemort thinks that by taking in Harry's blood, he's severed the protection of the love magic and made himself stronger. Harry explains this to Dumbledore in The Parting of the Ways.
He said my blood would make him stronger than if he'd used someone else's, Harry told Dumbledore. He said the protection my mother left in me, that he'd have it too. And he was right. He could touch me without hurting himself. He touched my face. For a fleeting instant, Harry thought he saw a gleam of something like triumph in Dumbledore's eyes.
It's easy to miss this last line when reading, but this look into Dumbledore's eyes is very telling. Dumbledore knows that by taking in Harry's blood, Voldemort has unwittingly bound himself and Harry to life, and more deeply connected them. This act has ensured that now Harry must be the one to kill Voldemort. This act, combined with the revelation of the prophecy in Book 5, tells the reader that Harry has to kill Voldemort, and it is Voldemort himself who has orchestrated it to be this way. The prophecy in Order of the Phoenix reveals almost all of the whole truth. The reader finally learns why it was that Voldemort sought Harry out when he was a baby. The prophecy states,
"The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches. Born to those who have thrice defied him, born as the 7th month dies, and the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal. But he will have power the Dark Lord knows not. And either must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives. The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord will be born as the 7th month dies."
Dumbledore goes on to explain that the prophecy could have meant Harry or Neville Longbottom, but that Voldemort chose Harry. That he marked Harry as his equal, thus binding him and Harry together in this way. His choice to go after Harry not only showed that he marked Harry as his equal, but also started the chain of events that led to Harry having the protection of his mother's sacrifice. This would later be the cause of Voldemort's true destruction. In attempting to kill Harry, Voldemort gives Harry the power that the Dark Lord does not have that Trelawney's prediction mentions. In the Deathly Hallows, Harry finds out that he was the Horcrux that Voldemort never intended to make. And that was the reason he could see into Voldemort's mind, speak Parseltongue, and that the only way to defeat Voldemort is to let Voldemort kill him, and in the act, kill the Horcrux. However, Harry is not killed in the process. Because of the love protection, because Voldemort chose to take Harry's blood into his own body. Dumbledore explains this in Chapter 35, King's Cross.
"He took your blood and rebuilt his living body with it. Your blood in his veins, Harry. Lily's protection inside of both of you. He tethered you to life while he lives."
And one more quote.
"He took your blood believing it would strengthen him. He took into his body a tiny part of the enchantment your mother laid upon you when she died for you. His body keeps that sacrifice alive, and while that enchantment survives, so do you, and so does Voldemort's one last hope for himself."
That love magic protection ensured that Voldemort would kill only the piece of soul within Harry, not Harry himself. Because Voldemort is still alive after killing Harry, Lily's sacrifice is still active and protects Harry from dying. He would destroy his Horcrux while still keeping Harry alive. Voldemort created his own worst enemy and gave him the very weapons needed to defeat him. And the evidence for this is sprinkled in tantalizing tidbits throughout the series, giving readers plenty to speculate about until the final reveal in the King's Cross chapter in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Thank you for watching, and a very special thank you to our supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can head over to our Patreon or check out some of the official BiblioBibuli merch. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and until the next video, happy reading.